system. I call it evidence that God has a sense of humor. Because it came out of a divine download, one of those do this invitations, to give the message and the service back to the community. And so I invite questions from the community. We have an overarching theme for every Sunday, and then I spin this and it contextualizes the talk. So I never know exactly what I'm going to talk about till Sunday morning. It's one of those, God only knows what I'm going to say. Let's find out together. Is it really all good? On a human level, when y'all laugh, there's a little bit of fear that runs down my spine. I'm just saying. Let's take a breath together. So our overall theme for the year is first thing first. And we are exploring a metaphysical, spiritual perspective of the 12 steps and 12 traditions of recovery. Not from the perspective of recovering from something, but from the perspective of recovering our authentic spiritual selves. And it's a beautiful thing that there's 12 steps, 12 traditions, and 12 months, because it kind of writes itself, right? So the first 2 weeks, we look at the steps. The second 2 weeks, we look at the tradition. If there's a fifth week, we do a workshop to put it into practice. So this morning, we are beginning our exploration of the fifth tradition, which states... And even if you're not in the program, if you want a really cool book, The Guiding Principles, The Spirit of the Traditions, it's an NA book, but it is so metaphysical. It is, because just so you know, the metaphysical movement in Christianity is what the 12 steps came out of. The big book of AA was actually written while they were hanging out on Emma Curtis Hopkins' wellness farm. So the connections are really intricate in there. So here's what the text of the fifth tradition says. Each group has but one primary purpose: to carry the message to the addict, alcoholic, person, whatever you fill in there, who still suffers. And so it begs some clarification, right? How do you interpret primary purpose, right? How do you interpret the message? Is the message that this community carries the same as the message of Centers for Spiritual Living, the same as the message of CSL in Washington, D.C., or CSL in California? What is the message that we're really carrying? Because I think that's one of the challenges of spiritual community, especially in metaphysics, in New Thought, because, let me just warn you, this might strike you as funny. We tend to be independent thinkers. we tend to have opinions, and we're really vocal about them. And that's great. Is that our primary message? Is it our primary purpose as a center to create a space for everybody to share their personal opinions? Is that our primary purpose? Or is there a teaching that is our primary purpose? If we look at, and I'm going to get to this, is it all good? If we look at our declaration of principles, there's one declaration in there that I think covers what our message is intended to be, but I don't know that we collectively have noticed it yet. The ultimate goal is the emancipation from all discord. And that everyone is sure to accomplish this. That's a pretty clear statement. What if all we did was focus on how to emancipate ourselves from every sense of discord? Would we care if it's all good? If we did that? Would there even be an option for something other than good if we freed ourselves from all discord? Because then we have to look at what's creating the discord. Now, right out of the gate, most of us have a list of people that are creating our discord. I invite you, if you want to practice integrity, to go home, burn your list. Because there ain't a word of truth in it. Not anybody that's named on that list is causing your discord. Any more than Hitler and the concentration camps caused Viktor Frankl's discord. And Viktor Frankl said that over and over again. He controlled his discord. He couldn't control the conditions that his physical body was in, but he learned that he was 100% responsible for whether or not that created discord for him. Doesn't mean it didn't create physical pain. We can look to the example of Jesus. Right? Regardless of how you view Jesus, I'm pretty sure there was a human being that was tortured, that in some form or fashion was nailed to a cross. And he didn't allow that to create discord in him. In fact, according to the ancient text, the Peshitta, he spoke forgiveness for the people that put him there. You can't do that if you're in discord. Right? The jury's still out, and it really depends on which translation that you focus on. But the original Peshitta says that what he actually said on the cross was not, my God, why have you forsaken me?" That what he actually said in his native Aramaic language was, "For this I came." Where's the discord in that? That's an acknowledgement. That's ownership. That this is what I came here for. How many of us have such clarity of our own message that we are willing to free ourselves from discord by standing in that space of, "For this I came. For this I came." It's an option, right? Let me give you a little history about science of mind and this phrase, "it's all good, it's all God." That came about through Emma Curtis Hopkins. And it came about because what Emma noticed is that a lot of people were struggling to reconcile their God, the idea of God, what they had been taught about God. Because some religions have wounded people, teaching about an abusive God. That's not what we teach. Okay? And so in trying to find a way, because if you really study Emma's work, it's straight out of the Bible. Straight out of the Bible. Emma didn't give up the Bible, but what she suggested is to really look at your struggle with the Word God, and if you can't get past that struggle, then maybe use the word good. And she went on to explain, because after all, isn't it true that what you think is your good, you make your God? Pow! See, she wasn't doing the spiritual bypass. It's all good, it's all God. That is not Emma Curtis Hopkins. If you study Emma Curtis Hopkins, if you came to Emma for a practitioner session, everything in writing says she would let you say whatever you needed to say, and then she would tell you never say it again. Get it all out, and when you leave here, never repeat it again. That is not somebody who's all fluffy, it's all good, it's all God. That is not what Emma taught. Right? So, is it all really, is it all good? Depends on how you're using the phrase. If you're using it to avoid your responsibility for creating the experience that you're experiencing, no, it's not. Then you're using it as spiritual bypass. Stop it. If you're using it to recognize that there's only one power, there's only one presence that can never be in opposition to itself, and you need to call that good because you still haven't reconciled that good negates bad, then use it. There is a place where you can let go of both and just stand in what is. You can just stand in what is. It doesn't have to be good or bad. Right? Our emotions are a function of being human. They're beautiful. But how many of us are willing to feel all of them? Right? One of the reasons why we're talking about the 12 steps and 12 traditions is because addiction, if you take out the substances, if you take out any one avenue of addiction, it boils down to a refusal to feel our feelings. Because every addiction is some mechanism to change how we feel so we don't have to deal with them. Right? If I feel lonely, I eat. Then I don't feel so lonely. There's a chemical reaction that happens in that, just so you know. You are chemically changing your body when you eat, because you notice you don't eat high protein foods when you're in that space. You eat carbs. They're called comfort foods because they ignite your endorphin systems and literally release chemicals in your body that change how you feel. It's addiction. It just is. People who exercise to the extent that it's harmful. It's about changing how we feel by releasing so many endorphins. If you, I don't know if it's still this way, when I was in school for substance abuse, when I was becoming a registered addiction specialist, I looked up 12-step recovery. I looked up addiction. This whole list comes flying down. The first one on the list was Adrenaline's Anonymous. People who are addicted to their own adrenaline, who do outrageously dangerous and stupid things that literally risk their life for the adrenaline rush, and who can't stop. So if you think an addiction requires something other than you, let me just blow that up. Because it doesn't. It doesn't. But here's what I know. If you weren't intended to feel sadness, you wouldn't have the emotion of sadness. Sadness isn't bad. Feeling sad doesn't make you wrong. Anger is not bad. It doesn't make you wrong. What you do with it, that's the issue. That's the issue. Right? Because we can justify the most outrageous sorts of nonsense. Right? And we can hide it behind, well, it's all good, it's all God, to excuse horrendous behavior. We have done it historically throughout the existence of humanity. Or we can get clear that if our primary purpose, if our primary message is really an emancipation from all discord, and we really believe that everyone will attain it, and we really believe that there's only one, then I have as much responsibility for relieving your discord as I do for relieving mine. Because there's no such thing as yours and mine in one. That requires duality. I said this a couple weeks ago, might have been last week. If it comes into your awareness, it's yours. Doesn't mean that if I see a car accident, I need to hurt my body like your body was hurt. That's not what I'm saying. Change your thinking, change your life. If I know that love is all there is, then no matter what you do, I refuse to participate in hatred. No matter what. I don't know why Jesus is coming up today, but he is. Right? We actually, let's be clear, because some folks in Science of Mind think that Ernest Holmes didn't have nothing to do with Christianity. Look at the book, Science of Mind, A Philosophy of Faith, A Way of Life. The whole last third of the book is the teachings of Jesus. I'm just saying, if you're uncomfortable with that, and you got some discord with that, maybe explore what that last third of the book says. You might find that it's only discordant because of what you're telling yourself about it. You might. Right. Here's the thing. Everybody that encountered Jesus, according to what we know in writing, put him on a pedestal or tried to tear him down. Nothing in between. Nothing in between. Right? There had to be some dancing with all of that. Right? We like to believe that he just was blindsided by the crucifixion. But if you really read the account of the Garden of Gethsemane, he knew it was coming. He prayed twice to have it different if it could be. If it could be. So that's the human dancing with the divine. Doesn't mean we don't have that relationship, that I-thou relationship between my human self and my God self. But if I recognize that there's only one, then there's only one. Jesus said it over and over again. Everything you see in me is in you. I'm not separate. He said it a lot of different ways. Did we hear him? I think collectively, no. Right? We look to something outside of ourselves to do for us what we are spiritually empowered to do. Look at John 14. Verily I say unto you, everything that I have done, you will do, and even greater. It's right there. So if you're a Bible-based person, use the Bible, because it's the same stuff is there. Right? That's the beautiful thing that Holmes did. He went through all of the different religions and he found the common thread. Right? Nobody is excluded. No religion is excluded, because in one, who are you going to exclude? It begs the question, if there's only one, who are you going to exclude? If there's only one, what belongs to somebody else and not you? Right? That's how it's my stuff too. Right? If I see anybody hurting, what is available to me is to remember the truth and to affirm that truth and to empower that truth that there is. And this is where we can use this. But I invite you to start with the denial. There is no negative power opposite of good. Right? Start unraveling good from a dichotomous paradigm. If you're going to use good in correlation with God, you've got to remove the bad. Because there's no bad in God. Good is not the opposite. It is the truth of. There's a difference. Right? But our human conditioning, our whoever dreamed up the reward-punishment paradigm, we're still working to unravel that. And the reward-punishment paradigm positions good as the opposite of bad. Good to be attained, bad to be avoided. The problem with that is it creates two opposing powers. That doesn't work in one. Right? So just be aware of when you use that phrase, how are you using it? You know, our community value today is integrity. Are you using the word good in integrity of one? Or are you using it to avoid responsibility? Also known as spiritual bypass. Right? And it don't make you bad if you do it. It makes you human and growing. Because it's available to do, and it's deeply conditioned in the psyche of humanity. And so, okay, all of a sudden you notice it. Oops, I'm over here in this land, and I really want to be in this land. Get up and come back over here. That's it. There's a song, and I forget which one it is, and I'm going to wrap up with this. It's an amazing song. The words to it that always stuck with me. A saint is just a sinner that got back up again. We all make mistakes. We all miss the mark. Get back up again. Don't lay there and wallow in, oh, woe is me. Get your butt up. Get up. I mean, and this is a whole nother talk, and I really am going to end with this. But you know that place where you wake up and go, yes, I see this butt. Get off your butt. Get off all those butts. And get right with you. Get in alignment with you, with the truth of you, with the truth that is the foundation of every spiritual tradition. Get right with that. Get in alignment. Not right from wrong, but right as in get right. Get in alignment. For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. If you go back to the Greek, what that actually means is we've all made mistakes. and get out of alignment. The glory of God in the original Greek is the moment where our human awareness, our human consciousness is in perfect alignment with Christ consciousness. I can get next to that. I've made mistakes. I've been a little off. And I've had moments where I'm in absolute alignment. I want more of that. I want to keep turning every mess I make into a message. What is the message that's our primary purpose? There's a worksheet, and I actually, on this particular worksheet, there's two things at the bottom that if you're willing to send me feedback, I would love it. What message do you believe our center carries to the person who is still searching? In your experience, does this center carry a unified message to the person who is still searching as our primary purpose? If so, how do we do that? If not, what can we do differently to more clearly do that? This is our community. It's not mine. You have a voice. I invite you to use it so that we can begin to coalesce and get in alignment with what our primary purpose is and what our message is. But perhaps revealing it is the first step. Just saying. Let's take this into prayer. In every fiber of my being, physical, spiritual, I know there's only one substance that is the source of all creation, seen and unseen. One life that is the life of all. One breath that is breathing all. One love that is expressing in, through, and as all. I know that I am that. And I know that what is true of me is true of all. Each an intentional, on purpose, one of a kind, never to be repeated, divine desire in the heart of the infinite to know itself, to experience itself, individualized as each one. And so I claim and affirm that each and every expression, whether we call it God, Great Spirit, the Great Mystery, life, love, whatever we call it, that we are each awakening to whatever it is, whoever it is, however it is, we are individually called to express the divinity that we are. That we simply step into becoming that, to being that, knowing that as we be, the doing will take care of itself. That we be ourselves into doing instead of trying to do ourselves into being. And I celebrate. I celebrate that the word spoken is the word fulfilled. That there is no waiting period in God. None. That the Spirit within me is the Spirit of God speaking itself into being. And so I know it is done. I know that place of faith, the belief in the substance of things not seen. And so I claim it as so. And I let go. I let go of any thoughts of doubt. I let go of any concerns of how and when and where and why. And I just stand in it is. Aware to be shown the evidence of things not seen but hoped for. I let go. I let it be. And so it is.